He had only wanted a quiet evening. The kind where the city noise fades, and the tired soul finally rests. But when he reached his door, something stopped him. A letter, folded once, slipped under the frame, his name written in uneven strokes. He bent down, picked it up, and opened it with casual curiosity. But as his eyes traced the words, his heartbeat stumbled. She's yours, and she's dying. Only you can save her. He froze. The letter shook in his hands. His breath caught, his chest heavy, as if the walls themselves had leaned closer. Someone was asking for help. Someone hidden inside these words. And suddenly, the comfort of his evening was gone. He read the words again, hoping they might change, but they remained the same, heavy, unshakable. His fingers tightened on the paper. Who was she? Why would anyone say she was his? Dozen questions clawed at him. Neighbors walked by, their footsteps echoing softly, but he didn't notice. His world had shrunk into that thin piece of paper. For a moment, he considered tossing it aside, perhaps a cruel joke, perhaps a mistake, but something inside him whispered otherwise. Something in the shaky handwriting carried desperation, truth, hidden in uneven strokes. And so, instead of unlocking his door, he remained standing there, still, breathing slow. Trying to make sense of the storm pressing against his chest. He thought of the years he had carefully placed behind him. The mistakes. The relationships that ended before they ever truly began. Had he'd forgotten someone? Had he left someone behind who now needed him? A name brushed against his thoughts, faint as a whisper. Her face, blurred with time, seemed to hover just beyond his reach. He pressed his back to the door, sliding down until he sat on the cold floor. The letter lay open in his lap. Each word throbbed like a heartbeat. She's dying. The sentence gnawed at him. If this was real, if it wasn't some cruel fabrication. Then, somewhere out there, a woman who once belonged in his life was slipping away, and he was her last chance. His first instinct was to call someone, anyone. But who? There was no name in the letter, no address, only those haunting words. The phone felt heavy in his palm. Police. They would laugh. A friend. None would understand. The decision weighed on him, to walk inside and forget, or to follow the thread, however fragile, wherever it might lead. He closed his eyes, listening to the quiet hum of the hallway. And then, slowly, with a steadying breath, he chose. He would not ignore it. Back inside, he studied the letter again. And there at the bottom something he had missed before. You'll know where to find her. The words taunted him, vague, but confident, as if the writer trusted he still carried a memory of her hidden deep within. A small object caught his eye. A key, taped to the corner, old, rusted, its teeth worn with time. His fingers traced its edges. Familiar, and yet not. Suddenly, an image stirred in his mind, a place from long ago. A house with peeling paint, a door that creaked whenever it opened. The key belonged there. He was certain. His chest tightened. It had been years since he'd last seen it. Years since he'd walked away. But the past was calling, in metal and ink, and he could no longer ignore it. The city moved around him, but he walked through it as if in a dream. Cars passed, neon signs glowed, people hurried by, yet none of it touched him. His mind clung only to the key, the letter, and the possibility of who waited at the end. Every step echoed with questions. Why now? Why him? Why her? The cool night air stung his cheeks, but it steadied him. He was no longer a man ending a long day. He was a man beginning something he hadn't asked for, yet couldn't turn away from. With each block, the memory of that house grew clearer. And with it, the fear that what he might find inside was more than he could bear. At last, he reached it. The house stood quietly, tucked away like a forgotten secret. Its walls leaned slightly, its windows clouded with dust, but he remembered it, every detail. This was where she had once lived. His hand tightened around the key. It felt heavier here, in front of the very door it belonged to. He hesitated. The silence of the street seemed to hold its breath with him. Asterisk, what if he was too late? Asterisk, what if the letter had come only as a cruel reminder, not a call for help? Still, he stepped forward. The gate creaked open. The porch groaned under his weight, and there, before him, the door waited. Old, familiar, a barrier between the life he knew and the truth that had come knocking. Asterisk, his hand shook as he lifted the key. Asterisk, it slid into the lock with a reluctant scrape, as though even the metal resisted being turned. For a long moment, he simply stood there, listening, waiting. Then, with a soft click, the lock gave way. Asterisk, the door opened slowly, groaning against its hinges. Asterisk, and a faint glow spilled out, warm against the cold night. Asterisk, inside, the air was thick with silence, touched by the scent of dust and faint medicine. Asterisk, he stepped in cautiously, each footfall stirring echoes. The world behind him seemed to fade, the city, the noise, the ordinary. Asterisk, all that remained was this house, and the truth waiting within its walls. The air inside was heavy, carrying the quiet weight of time. Furniture sat where it always had, though worn with years. Curtains hung uneven, filtering the faint glow of the lamp. He took a cautious step forward. Every creak of the floorboards seemed too loud, as if the house itself were listening. Asterisk, on the table lay a mug, half full, steam long gone cold, a sign someone had been here, not long ago. Asterisk, hello, he whispered, his voice almost swallowed by the silence. Asterisk, no answer came. Asterisk, only the steady hum of his own heartbeat in his ears. Asterisk, but somewhere deeper inside, he felt it. He was not alone. Then it came, soft, weak, barely more than a whisper. Voice, from behind the closed door at the end of the hallway. His heart stumbled, then raced. Asterisk, the letter's words returned with painful clarity. She's yours, and she's dying. Asterisk, he moved forward, each step slow, as if time itself had thickened. Asterisk, the floor groaned beneath him, warning of his approach. Asterisk, at the door. He paused, breath caught in his throat. He placed his hand on the knob, feeling its chill. Asterisk, for a moment, he almost turned back. Almost, but the voice, fragile, broken, called again. Asterisk, and it pulled him forward, stronger than fear. The door swung open, and there she was. Asterisk, time had changed her, carved lines of struggle into her face, softened her once bright eyes into weary pools. Yet he knew her, even through the years, even through the distance. Asterisk, he knew her. Her lips trembled into a faint smile. You came, she whispered. Asterisk, his chest tightened, words trapped in his throat. Memories rushed back, laughter once shared, promises once broken, the way he had walked away when she needed more than he could give. Asterisk, and now. Asterisk, she lay before him, fragile, fading. The letter had not lied. She was his, and she was dying. He knelt beside her, taking her trembling hand into his. The warmth there was faint, fleeting. I didn't know, he whispered. Asterisk, his voice cracked, beneath the weight of all the unspoken years. She shook her head softly. You weren't meant to, until now. Her gaze shifted to the bedside table. There, another letter lay, sealed carefully, his name written in gentler strokes than the first. Asterisk, he reached for it, fingers shaking, but she squeezed his hand weakly. Later, read it later. Stay now. Tears burned his eyes as he nodded. The past could wait. Asterisk, the letter could wait, but the moment Herc could not. She drew in a shallow breath. Asterisk, then, with all the strength she had left, she spoke. Asterisk, she's yours. Her eyes shimmered with quiet hope. Our daughter. She's yours, and she needs you. Asterisk, the words struck him like a bell, ringing through every part of him. A daughter, his. The letter's meaning unfolded in full. It had never been only about her. Asterisk, it was about the child they once brought into this world. A child he never knew. His breath caught. Tears blurred his vision. He wanted to speak, to ask, to explain, but no words came. Only a flood of emotions he could not contain. Asterisk, he bent closer, clutching her hand as though it were the last anchor in a storm. Asterisk, her strength was fading, but her eyes still held him. Asterisk, I will find her, he said, his voice steady despite the tremble inside. Asterisk, I will protect her. I will give her the life she deserves. A tear slid down her cheek, and she smiled. That small, tired smile carried more weight than 1,000 words. Asterisk, for the first time in years, he felt something awaken within him, Asterisk, not guilt, not regret, but purpose. She closed her eyes briefly, whispering, "That's all I needed to hear." And in that moment, the silence was no longer heavy, it was sacred. Asterisk, when the first light of dawn touched the sky, he stepped outside. Asterisk, the world seemed quieter, softer, as though it, too, carried the weight of what had happened. Asterisk, in his hand, the letter waited. Asterisk, the one she had left for him. Sealed with love and trust, he held it close, not yet ready to open it, for he knew the words inside would guide him, not break him. His path was clear now. There was a child out there, his child. Asterisk, a daughter who carried her mother's hope, her mother's love. Asterisk, and though grief pressed on him, another force rose stronger, the will to be the father she needed. He lifted his eyes to the horizon, the rising sun painting his face in gold. Asterisk, a man who once ran from the past was now walking toward the future. Asterisk, and for the first time in years, he did not walk alone.